Kevin Roth here of RotoGrinders, and today we're going to talk about the RG Discord. If you're not a member, you should be. It is a fantastic community and resource that RotoGrinders provides, and it's easy to join as well. All you have to do is click the Discord icon on RotoGrinders or go to rotogrinders.com/Discord. From there, you'll either sign up if you're new to RG, or if you're already a member, just click the link at the top to go to the sign-in page. Once you've logged into your RG account, you can be taken to Discord to log in there. Once you've connected those accounts, you won't have to leave the server. You can freely close out and reopen Discord without ever having to reconnect. The idea of Discord might be a little bit daunting to you, but it's actually pretty simple to navigate. Whether you're on mobile or desktop, the far left side will show you the Discord servers that you've already joined. Then next to that, you'll see the channels within that Discord. We have both free channels like Chiefs Prop Shop and our daily sport channels. And we also have premium channels like Blender's Game Theory or the Crunch Time channels. Premium members can see the difference between the free and premium channels by looking for a padlock icon next to the premium channel names. We also have a few pointers for new and experienced users alike. If you're having trouble finding a channel, make sure that you haven't collapsed the section that the channel is in. Collapsing a channel will only allow it to appear when there are unread messages in that channel. Also, we find that using the actual Discord program works better than opening it in a browser like Safari or Chrome. Lastly, if you're having trouble with one of our tools, your RotoGrinders account, or any other technical needs, you can hop in our feedback and help section of channels to get help from one of our wonderful support and moderation team members. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter @RotoGrinders or email support@rotogrinders.com. See you in Discord.
Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender at BlenderHD. If you would follow me on Twitter, and it's Thursday, March 10th. March 10th. We're still at minimum 35 days away from MLB season. If there is an MLB season, but we got NBA. We got stuff. We got golf. We got golfers withdrawing after lock. If you have a Deki Matsuyama in your PGA lineups for the players, you might as well take your money and flush it down the toilet or hope for a min cash with a 5 out of 6. I didn't play PGA. I'm just looking on Twitter and see that Hideki withdrew during a delay, right? So I think the event was delayed, but it still locks in an X amount of time. So no one got to the tees yet. And then Matsuyama said, my back hurts and I'm done playing. I'm not going. I'm not doing it. So sorry to all the people that have him in your PGA lineups. I don't know how much he was owned, but enough owned that people were complaining on Twitter. So it's not like he was nothing owned. But we got MMA coming up on Saturday. We got stuff going on. Got a 2-game slate tonight. Right. We went from a 12-game slate yesterday that I didn't play, because I didn't want to have to deal with it. I did all the start times. I didn't feel like, I don't like doing work on Wednesday nights. I don't like doing it. So I just didn't play. And some of the chalk failed. Some of the chalk, the Rockets, they did well, right? Because he had everyone out for them. Like Tate was out and Wood was out. So Sengun put up 50 points for 5,100. You got Kenyon Martin, Kevin Porter. They all did well, but Brandon Williams apparently didn't. Bagley didn't. Are these teams get blown out or something? I have no idea. Then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who has been crushing for a 10K, is a bit overpriced. He did horribly, but his teammate Aaron Wiggins, he's the one that took all the points. That's what it looks like. What happened last night? People played Alex Len, and he only got 6 points for 3,000. Yeah, he hasn't played for like 3 weeks. But Damian Jones came in and played a whole ton. I think more people played Damian Jones than Alex Len. Who started? I thought Len started. I have no idea. Lindy Waters, I don't know who this guy is, but he was 11% owned, and he didn't do that bad for 3,000. So, I mean, not what was going on in yesterday's slate. We got Devin in the YouTube chat. Feel free to give a thummy thumb. Thummy thumbs here in the morning, first thing in through the door. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. We got what? NHL Grinders live later today. NHL, if you're playing hockey, go check at 3 p.m. Eastern, right? Play the hockey slate. It's only a 2-game slate tonight, so what we're doing is no NBA Grinders live, but there will be free crunch time. So it'll be Kevin Roth, it'll be Andy Means, it'll be someone else, right? I the rotating cast of characters for what 45 minutes or so, half an hour before 7:30 lock. So that's 6:45, 7 o'clock, sometime around then for the we got the big game. We got the big game. The Nets and the Sixers, right? Is this like the first time that they're playing since that trade? Right? Since Harden, it's a revenge game. It's a revenge game. How Harden didn't play for the Nets for that long. It's a revenge game. It's okay, sure. Simmons isn't going to play, right? We don't have Simmons in the projections, right? He's not playing, right? That would be, right? The Nets have Simmons and Harden's on the Sixers, and it's Revenge Central or something like that. So that's the game that we have tonight. We got the good mornings in the chat. Infamous Suki Singh kicked to the head 88. Does that mean he was kicked to the head 88 times? Probably was born in 88 or something like that, right? Typically when people put numbers like that, that's the year that they were born. Right, we got Trey here, money making Mike. Out money, he's making money, apparently. Triple M in the chat. Matt Mears, double M, who's double M, right? We got Matt Mears and money making Mike. Daniel Hutchins, who says huge slate today. Yeah, 2 games, huge slate. Trey says, I'm curious to see the Alex Len ownership from the better players list. Let's take a look. Like I said, I didn't play last night, so it's hard for me to get the context. I was getting the updates and the alerts, and I was on Twitter, so I saw who was in, who was out, that type of stuff. But I wasn't looking at projections. I wasn't playing the slate or anything like that. So let's take a look. Compare exposures. So if we take a look for Alex Len, it seems like a mixed bag, right? We got guys like JBC, 3-point, like barely any. RBX, barely any, but we still got like Petty Theft with 66, Oxenduck with 49, Brick with 80, Ship My Money with 70, right? Chipotle only had 12, 34 for Royal Pain, right? Damian Jones, on the other hand, Damian Jones was higher owned, 24% owned. Alex Len was 14% owned. Damian Jones, so many didn't have, right? Yeah, RBX had 64, had the opposite. Who's the one that started? What happened yesterday with the Kings? So was one guy originally projected well? Let's take a look. I don't like the NBA site. Let me go to the Google. The Google summaries. Okay, so we're looking for what this is yesterday. Yesterday's Kings game, right? Because it was late also. So let's see. Who did the Kings start? Oh, so Len started. Okay. But was it that Damian Jones was originally projected to start? So Alex Len started and Damian Jones came in later. And even Me Too played 18 minutes. But it just seems weird to me that Alex Len would start and be twice as less owned than Damian Jones, unless the original projection as of lock, right? Because this game was late. This is a later game, right? So I have to expect from these ownership numbers that Damian Jones was originally projected as the starter. And then, at 9:30 or whatever, the Kings starting lineup came out and Alex Len was the starter. And that's the reason for so many people having Damian Jones and then not swapping off of him. And then people swapping on to Alex Len, especially when Damian Jones is 3,400 and Alex Len is 3,000. So it's very easy to do just a global replace on that, or split it out or whatever. It's not that hard. That's what I would think. right? Okay, Trey, we have they're filling me in the chat. Damian Jones was the assumed starter, then Alex Len got named starter late. Okay, that's what I figured. Then Len, kick to the head, 88 says Len started, but 2 fouls quick. So Jones was projected incredibly, right, when you expected him to start, because Alex Len, right, because here we go. Yeah, the chat knows what they're doing. People assume Jones would start since Len hasn't played in years. Well, I mean, he hasn't played in like 3 weeks or something. So people thought that, like, did Jones, I would assume in the projections, Jones was projected for probably 28, 30, 32 minutes or something like that. And at 3,400 would project extremely well. Then once Len was announced as a starter, you have to bump that down. Now you maybe Len plays 22 minutes or something, right? Maybe Damian Jones still plays more minutes, but Len is going to play substantial enough minutes that at his price and at his, the fantasy point per minute production, playing him for 3,000 for 22, 24 minutes or something was worth doing. Right. And Injustice 360, they're chiming in. They're on top of it. If you watch the show, you're on top of it most of the time. Sometimes we get new people or recurring characters that still have not gotten it yet. Right? Injustice 360 says Jones was the projected starter and Len was announced as the starter around 8:40 Eastern. Okay. Right. And so many games would have been locked by then, right? Because it was like 7, 7:30, 8, 8:30, and it's 8:40, and then you're sitting there. Probably a lot of people were trying to get Len into their lineups. Right. And that's why you have, Brick with 80% Alex Len. For 6 and a petty theft, right? 66%. And I always Travis petty theft. I mean, to me, from a like he literally swapped the whole thing. Right. He had 0 Damian Jones, 66% Alex Len. So I think if you still played Len and 2 quick fouls and downhill, it doesn't seem like you did anything wrong. If you did something wrong, there's a lot of the sharpest players in the lobby did something wrong as well at the same time. So that's all you could compare it to. That's why, like Brandon Williams, it's like, oh, well, Brandon Williams didn't do very well, right? Well, I mean, it's not like sharper players didn't play him or anything, right? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for stuff. It's like, Jalen Green did well, but not many. Jalen Green wasn't that owned across the board. Wasn't that exposed to, right? Corey Joseph. Some people had 0. Some people had 22%. I mean, like, that's what I consider a mixed bag. Like Cameron Payne. Not 15% for Haha Bro, 10% for JBC, but for the most part, like barely any. Right, De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, some at 22% for Royal Pain, but pretty much like nothing across here. Take a look at Terry Rozier. Right, say 6% owned, but like, look how not exposed anyone was. If you were like, I'm going to play 70% of Terry Rozier in 100 lineups, and then you look and you see 0, 0, 0, 0, 4, 1.3. Most probably he screwed up. Most probably he did something wrong. So that's why looking at, what did the sharper players do with Alex Len when he was announced as a starter? What did they do with Damian Jones? Well, take a look. Go through Results DB. RotoGrinders.com/ResultsDB. It's free. You don't even have to be a premium member. You could go there and you could look up anything. NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, golf, NASCAR, MMA. They just added MMA. I want to take a look here. I haven't looked at this. Okay, so they added a bunch of stuff for DraftKings, MMA, right? I could look over here, right? Right, Colby Covington, Rafael Dos Anjos. Yeah, they both scored a ton of points. I don't necessarily always have to look at Results DB for this. I download the CSV and I analyze the uniques myself. So it's not like I have to look at any of this, but it's nice that we got MMA now. We got NASCAR, golf, we got other sports in Results DB. We're still adding and improving here at RotoGrinders, the stuff to Result DB. More contests, right? Because it's like 4 contests in here. We'll be adding more of those. We'll be adding a little bit more, some more features. So watch out for it. Kick to the head 88 said Bagley was the biggest bust. Lots of people went all in on him. Well, let's take a look at that. Take a look at where's Bagley. Bagley. Well, Chipotle Atkins Royal Pain at 0, but I mean, no one like yeah, shit. My money went 100% back. Yeah, that's not going to work. It's still not like insane. I mean, outside of him on my list, he was 43% owned. Most Brickfoot 40, a Hubro 40, but like not slant like Sengun, like sharp players practically slammed. Right? He was 51% owned, and these exposures are way high 92, 82, 81, 98. With Tate, it's not just Wood was out, Tate was out as well. So they had like, well, who's in the front court for them? Like nothing. Sengun's going to have to play a ton. So that was the only like jam him in. But Bagley, I mean, the field jammed him in 43% owned. But it's not like people didn't. Sharper players didn't go all in on that as much. I mean, a ton, still plenty of them, but not ridiculous amount. Okay, today we have a 2-game slate. So I can't. The thing about a 2-game slate, there can't be that much news, right? There's only 4 teams playing. Downside is it's only a 2-game slate. Maybe we could talk a little bit about it because how much news could there possibly be, right? Bones Highland, Jeff Green, and Will Barton are questionable. So basically, the first game starts at 7:30 Eastern, and then 2.5 hours later, the Nuggets game, and we may not even know this information until 9. So it's still going to be a pain in the ass, right? With Highland, Green, and Barton, they're all out. What do you do? Right, because then you upgrade J. Michael Green and who? Davon Reed or some, who knows? But basically, it's Jokic, it's Embiid, it's Harden. That's the slate. So it's not much. I mean, how much you can talk about on a 2-game slate? Even if there isn't going to be that much news. Well, I'll answer questions in the YouTube chat. I could do that. You have to do your part. That's what I do in the morning. Talk about DFS strategy. That's what we did mostly yesterday, right? Didn't talk about a 12-game slate with the 17 million moving pieces. No. And Daniel Hutchings says, how much news can there be? Famous last words. Right. But the problem is most of the news is for the second game, right? Are we expecting like Kyrie to sit or Philip? You're right. I say this and you go, do you expect whatever? And next thing you know, Kevin Durant is ruled out, right? Next thing you know, Joel Embiid isn't going to play, right? And then it changes everything. Even Devin's in the chat. Thank goodness Blender doesn't have the wield the mush power that Dean has. Right. I typically it doesn't work out. When I say things like that, it typically just happens. Dean, he said, how much news can there be? And next thing you know, 17 players are out today, 3 minutes before lock. Dean can make that happen. Good thing Dean's not on today, right? We're doing crunch time. We're not doing NBA Grinders Live. So Dean can't mush it. You play NHL today, right? 13-game slate for NHL. Geez, that's a lot. That's a lot. But I can't really talk that much about NHL. I can't that much. I really can't talk much at all about NHL. I've never played NHL DFS. You play lines. That's all I know, right? You stack lines from teams. That's it. And goalies, you close your eyes and hope for the best. Very similar to soccer when it comes to goalies, right? Either they get a shutout or they get 700 saves. And sometimes the guy that gives up 5 goals is the highest scoring goalie on the entire slate. Gives them 5 goals, 12 saves. Next thing you know, that they're sitting there with 14 points, and they're the highest score, even though they've given up everything. I didn't do my MMA sheet yet for Saturday. 14 fights as of now. You have to assume one of them is going to someone's going to miss weight or something. Maybe gets scrapped, but it should be a good card. I haven't put together my spreadsheet yet, so I can't really even talk about MMA. But programming note, by the way, I will not be here tomorrow. Right? People are like, oh, well, you can talk about MMA tomorrow. We got a soccer slate today. Wait, we got that today. Not much on Saturday. But tomorrow I will not be here. You will not see a thumbnail on YouTube. Right? You won't see a tweet from me. I will not be here tomorrow. I have a dentist appointment. So I can't make it. And I have a dentist. I have a dentist now. My regular dentist retired. Okay. She was sick of me, I guess. So she retired. So she referred all of her patients to this other dentist. Okay. And this other dentist, the office is open at like 7 in the morning till 2. So they go home at 2 o'clock, the office closes. So it's like, who goes I mean, I guess people go to the dentist before they go to work. Normal people, 7 in the morning appointments. I don't know. It's not me. I ain't getting up that early to go to the dentist. Right. But the problem is that there's a lot of people that don't want to go in at 7 o'clock in the morning also. So they make 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock appointments. So if I try to make, I go like, okay, I'll make, do you have any 1 o'clocks, right? 12:30s, right? I could do this show. I could get to the dentist. It's like, oh, our next date with the appointment time noon or higher is like mid-April. And this is like 3 weeks ago already. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? You have nothing? You have nothing at all. Nope, nothing at all. So, but we could we could do like 10 a.m., 10, 11 a.m. It's like, yeah, but I do this show. It's like, either do I wait 2 months for a dentist appointment, or do I take an appointment 3 weeks from now and just have to take the day off, whatever. So I'm taking the day off. Daniel Hutchins says, went to the dentist on Monday for a 7 a.m. appointment, and it turns out it was a Tuesday appointment. How do you do that? How do you screw that? How do you screw the days up? Yeah, you get up early on 7 and then you get up early, you go there and you go, no, your appointment's tomorrow. So now you have to do the same thing again. JD Bray says, how you can show how to use the aggregate projections tool. Well, I don't have other projections to load in, so that'll be hard to do. So all you do is you upload, right? You upload projections with here. This choose file, right? You upload your CSV that needs the right headers, right? So FPTS, name, right? Name of the player. FPTS is the median fantasy point projection, and proj_own is the ownership column. So wherever you get projections, if you're building your own or whatever, those are the 3 columns that you need, right? So you upload them. And then when they're in here, right, you could obviously switch between them if you want. And if you don't want to do that, you could weight them differently. Right? So if I had, so let me I'll show you. I'm going to do this off screen just to, so I have to grab another projection set. And don't necessarily want to necessarily, well, where am I getting that projection set? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I'll do it off screen. Oh, let's see. Can I grab a CSV of this? Okay, let me. I'm going to do this the easiest way. I'll go to another place. Because I'm just going to other places, trying to do it the easiest way, just to show you. So let's see. Draftkings NBA projections. I mean, I don't know how accurate this is. I don't even know how accurate this is. Got the injury report here. NBA projections. It has does it have the ownership? And yes, it has the ownership in here. I'm gonna get this in as a CSV. Save that. Okay, so now I'm going to bring it in. I think I have to. Okay, hold on. I have to open it up in Excel and change the headers. I've never shown really this before, right? Okay, this isn't good. I only have the Denver guys in here. Why do I only have the Denver guys in here? Let's do it. Let's just show it with the Denver guys, I guess. So I'm doing this only as an example to begin with. So it doesn't matter that not all the players are in. So I'll do proj own. Set the headers correctly. Save that. Now upload this. Where's this DK NBA projections? Right. I'm gonna turn my custom projection. I'm just gonna use the default. Right. So I could use for fantasy points, I could use for projected ownership, I could use for both. Right. So I'm gonna use it for both. Right. So here, like I said, the only thing that was in there was the Denver players. Right. So that's all I got. Right. But it's here you go. Here's the ownership. And then that's the only ownership people that I got in it. Now, let's say I want to use if I go back, right, I could switch projections and ownership on both of these selectors. So let's say I want to go to the RG ownership projections. So there. So now you see, here's my custom projections, and here's the RG ownership projections. I could do the opposite. I could go back to the RG premium NBA projections and then use the ownership projections from the other source, which only have these four guys in it. Right? So that's what you would do. Now, if we go here, we could also aggregate them. So we have those two projection sources. You could put a weight on ownership. You could put a weight on median fantasy projection of whatever you want. Different. I mean, 50-50 would be even, right? But like on ownership, maybe, you could do, I want NBA premium projections. This have a much higher, like I want to weight the ownership on here, but I want the fantasy points to be equal, right? Whatever you want to do, right? So if you don't want it to be just equal, an even aggregate, you could, whatever percentage you want. You're like, well, I trust this model a little bit more than that model. Okay, well, then weight it higher. So if we did a perfect aggregate, 50-50, you do that in the weights section. And you could bring in multiple projection sources, up to 5. And then you save the projection set. And the default is my aggregate projections, but you can call it anything you want. Right? So you save the projection set. Right? Now you have my aggregate projections here. So it's like, okay, I'm going to use that for both. And there you go. Obviously, the non-Denver players, they have no projection to go against. Right? So we look here. So Embiid, it's like, well, one source is 60, the other source doesn't have anything. So it doesn't count it. But like the Jokic projection, for instance, if we see here, we go by Jokic, right? We go to the premium projections, RG projections have Jokic at 62.75. That other source has him at 59.4. So the aggregate of those two, 60.17. Right? Obviously, it's only affecting the Denver players because the source that I brought in only had those things in now currently. And also in those sources, you could put in the minute column as long as it's all matched up here. You could if you want. Doesn't really matter. The floor, the ceiling. If those things are in there, just make sure the headers are named correctly for lineup HQ. You could still put them in. You can't aggregate by floor. You can't aggregate by ceiling. You can only aggregate by median fantasy points and projected ownership. But you could use this tool. You don't have to use Excel. You don't have to start merging data and, VLOOKUPs and whatever. You could pretty much do it kind of in a blunt way. You download CSVs from other sources, your own source. Maybe you make your own. Or maybe you're like, oh, I want to use the RG projections, but I have 4 other sources for projected ownership. I want to aggregate that. So, okay, you could do that. This is a new feature. This has only been live for maybe 2 weeks to aggregate the ownership and the fantasy points together. Grant Brown asks, how early is too early for MMA builds? I think I could do it Saturday morning and be unique, provided no day of scratches. I would say too early is I would do it after weigh-ins. Probably a little bit later in the day after weigh-ins. Only because the betting lines will move. I mean, it's never too early for MMA builds. I mean, you can build whenever the hell you want. But as far as if you're using betting lines in order to make your decisions, you want as close to the closing line as possible. Because you're not betting on the sport, you're just using that to guide your lineup constructions. So like a guy that on Tuesday is plus 200 inside the distance, maybe by Saturday afternoon is plus 120. A lot of money is shifted in his direction or something. And it could be, the other, it's a replacement fighter. He missed weight by 3 pounds. That's why like the weigh-ins are really seeing how the betting lines are being affected by the weigh-ins. Then that's why I haven't put together my sheet yet. And typically maybe I'll pull odds on Tuesdays and just leave them in there or whatever. But it's like, no, I want to wait. I want to wait until as much of the information is in. And pretty much once the weigh-ins are in and all the fights are on, that they're no one's canceled, like you're not gonna get much information between that and fight night, pretty much. Unless some weird stuff happens on Twitter or whatever. That's what I would do. Uncrabby Cabby. Hey Jordan, do you use the range of outcome slider to get the diversification in your lineups? Yes, you can. And can you explain how it affects the standard deviation of the player's projection? It doesn't affect the standard deviation of the player's projection. The floors and the ceilings of the players are different from each other. So if you use true range randomness, right there, it'll go along with the standard deviation of the player already. So the standard deviation of a player isn't going to be affected at all. It's not going to change. You could get diversification in your lineups in 17 trillion ways. Is there a correct way to diversify? No. There's literally no correct way to diversify. I'm going to play 150 diversified horrible lineups. So it doesn't matter how diversified I am. Am I diversified a lot or a little? Doesn't matter. All the lineups suck. So who cares if they're diversified? You can play 150 lineups that are very not diversified at all, but extremely good. They're going to be high variance, but they're going to be profitable. The lineups matter. Once you start understanding, once you start getting that the only thing that matters is lineups, individual lineups, specific lineups, then you'll get good at DFS. The players don't matter. The lineups matter. Well, I'm playing 20 lineups. How much of a player played? Well, what exact 20 lineups are you playing? Well, I'm playing 50%. I don't care about what your diversification is. What does your lineups look like? I'm playing 50% of this player. Yeah, okay, so you're playing them in 10 lineups. What happens if those 10 lineups are awful lineups? Who cares that you're playing 50% of them? I'm playing 50% of a player that is 10% owned. I'm 5 times the field. So if he does well, I'm probably going to do really well. No, that's not true. Those 50, oh yeah, that guy did well, but I have him with 7 horrible players. My lineups project 74 points below average. Like, so it doesn't matter that you're 50% of a guy. It doesn't matter. That's why people anyone asking questions about an optimizer doesn't understand how to play DFS. My suggestion, this is my legitimate suggestion, and people don't, I suggested, and literally no one has done it. No one does it because people are stupid and impatient. The best players have done it, but no one wants to actually do the work. I would suggest you hand build your lineups for a minimum of 2 full years before you ever touch any type of tool like Lineup HQ. Now you could view Lineup HQ. You could view, oh, I want to view the projections, right? You do that so you can see what the numbers are, right? You go to the ownership and whatever, and then use this to build and hand build your lineups. You can play large field GPPs. You can play whatever the hell you want. Build 1 lineup, build 2 lineups, be 3 lineups, build 20. That's what I used to do. I did that for 2 or 3 years before I touched a tool like this. I would play NBA, and I was like, I'm going to build 12 lineups, right? 15 lineups, 8 lineups, whatever it is. Sometimes I'd build 20. Yeah, sometimes. Really, it's a time efficiency thing. I'd love to build 100, but I can't hand build 100. It'll take me too long. And you can, some people still do that. Then once you hand build, you learn these concepts. What does a good lineup look like? Well, if I'm going to play Embiid and I'm going to play this, what's the projection of the lineup that I'm building? What's the ownership of the lineup that I'm building? What positions are scarce, right? Well, I got to play a small forward here because if I pay up there, then I got to pay down here. And I'm already playing these 3 high-owned players, so now I can't play this 4th high-owned player because I need leverage, whatever. You learn all of that because you're actually doing it manually. So you're plugging in. You're going, well, if I'm going to play this guy, then I'm going to play the guy from the other side of the game, right? In MLB, you're like, I'm going to stack. What 5 players should I stack from this team? Well, I'm going to stack X, Y, Z. I'm going to take the shortstop, even though he's batting 9th, because shortstop is a weak position. And then I could stack this other team in the other 3 spots easier. And then play this pitcher. Like doing that by hand, doing it manually, hand building. You learn the concepts of projection, leverage, correlation, positional scarcity, lineup construction, salary constraints. You learn all of that because you're doing it manually. Okay? And once you do that over and over again, you're playing multiple sports. You're playing every day. You're building 10 lineups, 15 lineups. Does this have enough projection? Does this have enough leverage? Does this have enough correlation? Depending on the lineup, depending on the sport. You learn all those concepts, then next thing, then you actually start winning money, right? Right? I won $100,000 in NBA hand building 4 lineups. No optimizer, no nothing. Yes, I looked at the projections, but I didn't give me 4 lineups. I didn't plug that in. Right, an NBA. MLB, my first $20,000 win. I was hand building 12 lineups. Right, you'll win money. You'll still have because you're going to be building good lineups that have the right combination of projection, leverage, and correlation, depending on the sport. Right, correlation not as important in NBA. So once you do that, and I'm building good lineups. You're comparing those lineups to other sharp players. Going, my lineups look very similar to their lineups. They're playing 150 lineups. I'm only playing 5. But my 5 lineups look pretty damn similar to some of their lineups in their 150. So I must be on the right track. And maybe once in a while you get a top 10 finish or something in a large field GPP, and you're like, okay, and you're making money. Maybe you bink for 100,000. Maybe you do. Now it comes down to, now that you've learned how to build good lineups by hand, manually, now it's like, well, how do I scale this? If I could build 10 good lineups, if I could build 20 good lineups, I'd love to be able to build 50, 70, 100, 150. Well, how do I do that by hand and not, spend all day doing that? A tool like Lineup HQ. So now you learn, okay, how do I get this tool to make more of the lineups that I was handling? So it's not about like, I don't know what lineups look like. I don't know what good lineups look like. I'm just gonna plug in numbers into a tool and have it spit out good lineups. It doesn't work that way. Like saying, it's like, oh, okay, I want to build a bookcase. I have this hammer and nails, and what now? And like, so what do I do? It's like, well, I don't know what type of bookcase you're building. I don't know, like, you still have to build it. These are tools. That's all it is. All this is a calculator. Like I'm gonna purchase a calculator, and then I'm gonna tell the calculator, do my taxes. That's what people are asking when they say, well, what are the right settings? You're essentially telling so what number should I put in for my taxes? The calculator is going to look back at you and go, well, I don't know your income. I don't know your 1099. I don't know any of this stuff. All I'm here is to do the math for you. You have to put in the numbers. You have to put in what you're going to be using the calculator for. So that's what a tool like an optimizer is. Well, I think this 8-player lineup is good. Okay, great. Now go to the second one. What you should be doing as practice, this is after you've hand built for 2 full years. 2 full years. You've played 2 entire NBA seasons. You've played 2 entire MLB seasons. You've played 2 entire NFL seasons. Then after that, and now you're profitable. You should be profitable if you're building good lineups. After that, then you're like, okay, these 20 lineups that I've been hand building, I'm going to build 20 lineups by hand like I normally do. And then now look at those 20 lineups and go, how do I get this tool to make those exact 20 lineups? And then go through all the settings and go, well, how do I get that? And I looked at my 20 lineups. I have 12 lineups with Joel Embiid. Well, that's 60%. So like you try, go, I want 60% of Joel Embiid. Okay. So you look at the lineups, it's like, well, my diversity between lineups is low. I have very similar lineups. They're off by like maybe at most 2 or maybe 3. So you set your uniques down to 2. Like all you're doing is like, how do I get those 20 lineups? Like, how do I program this tool to give me those 20 lineups? Now, most likely, you're not going to be able to get it exact. If you did try to do 20 line, hand build 20, and then try to have the tool build exactly those 20 lineups. But you should be close. Right? What's the projection of each lineup? What's the total ownership of each lineup? There are all these settings that you could jury rig into getting those lineups. So once you're doing that, now you start doing that. You learn how to use the tool to get the lineups that you would have hand built yourself. But now, instead of it taking 4 hours for you to build 100 lineups by hand, it'll take it 10 to 15 minutes. Because you probably have to run it a couple of times, right? You have to change, I'm getting too much of this and this. This lineup doesn't make sense, and what I would never do this. And that's all you're doing. That's all this tool is. So it's like, what settings? Well, what lineups are you making? Like, I don't know what lineups you're making. I don't know your risk tolerance, right? So like even from a diversification perspective, some people, I'm going to play 10 lineups and I'm going to have the same 7 players in all of them and switch out 1 and just buy. That's my core. I'm going to have a core. I'm going to lock in 4 guys and then play whatever the optimizer tells me. Those could be good lineups also. You know how many good lineups there could be? Thousands. I could play 20 lineups. You could play 20 lineups. They could look nothing like each other, and they could both be profitable sets of lineups. says that's always been my concern. How TF do you get the optimizers a great hand build type of lineups? I do it. All the sharp players do it. Maybe not all, but that's what I do. Right on tonight, like I mean, we just take a look at tonight's slate. Right, I want to use our projections that we have up. Oh, they've been updated. If I were to hand build, let's just say I'm hand building. Typically on a 2-game slate, because of unique, I'm playing a large field GPP. Okay. So I want to get contrarian, but I also don't mind a little bit negative correlation because there's only 2 games. Right. So right now I'm going to hand build a lineup in the sidebar. Okay. So I take a look at this. I go, I think a lot of people tonight are going to play the late game and wait for news. So let's say I want to build a lineup. Not saying it's the best lineup, but a lineup that pretty much avoids that. So I'm going to play Embiid and Harden together. Right? So I'm kind of stacking the early game because I'm expecting that a lot of people are going to have Jokic and wait to see if Barton and Highland and all those guys are playing. Now we have a lineup that it has that also, but I'm just saying I'm just hand building one lineup. So using the projections, I'm just looking at I could do this on my phone. I'm just showing you it in lineup HQ. So since I'm playing that game, I got Harden and Embiid. Can I even play Durant? Is that going to be too expensive? Right. Average remaining salary is 4,800. Kyrie doesn't project as well. So let's take a look at these Brooklyn players. I play Dragic. Okay, there we go. Is Harden eligible at shooting guard? Okay, so I could play Dragic and then Harden. Okay. Taking a look at ownership versus projection. Is Tybalt going to be that owned? Yeah, I guess Tybalt is his small forward is a weak position. I'm going to play Tybalt. Right, another Philly player. Dragic on Brooklyn. What does power forward look like? Let's take a look at power forward. Like I said, I'm just hand building. Right? Got Kuminga there, got Durant there, Bielitsa, Tybalt, Green off the bench. Got Toby Harris. I still want to play more Brooklyn players. Right? I don't think I could afford Durant. If I put Durant in 38, 33, that's gonna be tough. Bruce Brown, could he do well? Seth Curry revenge, right? Could go for that. Projection goes all the way down. I mean, that's just it's a large field lineup. I guess I could do it. Seth Curry. So let's put Seth Curry. I'm gonna have to make it up in projection. Okay, so I got to play maybe a little bit more chalky. I got Curry, Dragic. I need a power forward. I mean, what if I just optimize from here? I got Bielitsa, Steph Curry, and Looney against Denver, and Bielitsa and Looney. So going through, like, let's see. As far as projections goes, what do I need? Because playing Seth Curry at like 2% ownership, but I'm also giving up like 6 points in projection. So I probably need to play Looney. I should play Looney in this lineup because the way he projects to make up some of the projection I'm losing by playing Seth Curry. Now I need a power forward and a guard. Is that the Bielitsa Curry lineup? Yeah, I guess so. Bielitsa, if he's going to be 60% owned, I'm going to play him. What happens if I play Kuminga there in the power forward spot? Who do I get in guard? I get Klay Thompson and I leave a ton of money on the table. So maybe I could do that. It's because I have Seth Curry in there. Maybe I don't mind. Bielitsa. Yeah, this isn't that bad, right? 265.82 at 365. Okay. So remember these two numbers. I'm going to save this lineup. Save this lineup. So we added to my saved lineups. Now let me unlock all of this. What is like the optimal based on our current projections? Right. Dragic, Harden, Moody, Bielitsa, Looney, Curry, Kuminga, Jokic. A lot of Golden State. All right, let me save this lineup. Okay, so compare the two. Right, comparing the two. This is 275 at 451. This is 265 at 365. So I'm sacrificing 10 points in projection, and I'm getting 80-something points in ownership. And I'm pretty much, avoiding the Nuggets completely. Now that could end up burning you, but I mean, with Seth Curry is providing the majority of the leverage in this line. Right? You got Harden here, Dragic. Right? Moody and Bielitsa are going to be owned, and Kuminga 52%. I don't have them all. I don't have Moody. I don't have Kuminga. Okay. So this lineup could be this lineup right down here, lineup one. That could be a good line. From a combination of projection, correlation, and leverage. So now build another lineup. Now instead of this lineup, you're going to go, okay, can I build a lineup that doesn't include any Warriors in it? Let's see if we could do that. Let's see what the projection and ownership of those lineups look like. Can we? I'm just going to X out, exclude all the Warriors. So what's the best lineup without all the Warriors? Let's just take a look. Dragic, Harden, Tybal, Niang, Embiid, Highland, Green, Jokic. 266 at 322. Just I'm not going to regard the fact that maybe I don't play Niang and some of these people together, but I don't mind the negative correlation that much on a short slate. The opportunity cost is low because there's only two games. So now I'm going to look at this lineup, right? 322 at 2. Actually, it projects higher and is lower owned. So this lineup could be plus. This is a plus EV lineup. Yeah, I'm playing Jokic in this lineup, but I'm also playing 2% owned. I'm not playing any of the Warriors. So this could be a plus EV profitable lineup also. Okay, these lineups look completely different. Yet they both could be long-term profitable, plus EV, positive expected value. They win in different ways, but they'll win more often than they don't for their projection, their ownership, right? So now let's build a third lineup. So like you're going to build like 20 of these lineups. Some have this guy, some don't have this. Can I play these two guys together? How about Durant lineups? Can I build a plus EV a Durant lineup? Can I build a plus EV Kyrie Irving lineup? You could build all of them. Then you build 20. Then you look and you see your expo, and then you go, how do I get, instead of me having to do one by one, I already have my set of 20 lineups. How do I get the tool to just build those lineups close enough for me, right? Is there anything I have to group out? Is there anything I have to group in? If I play Embiid, I have to play, if I play Durant or Irving, play Embiid in those lineups because it's opposite sides of the same game on a 2-game slate. Instead of playing Jokic and Durant or Irving, you figure if Durant or Irving have big games, the 76ers, it goes over, whatever, and Embiid has a good game, or Harden has a good game. Right. So since the Nets don't project as well, if I use an expensive net, I probably want more Sixers in my lineup. If that's what you want, then plug that in. Build those lineups. You can build those lineups by hand. Right. And once you've done it by hand for 2 years, coming up with how to build 100 lineups that look like that is not that complicated. It may not, it'll take you more than one build. No player just like, oh, I put in 700 settings and then press the button and I'm done. Most of the time I'm rebuilding numerous times. Because I'm going through it, like, did I miss anything? Does this lineup make sense? I'm scrolling through, just perusing through it, like, okay, this doesn't, or I'm getting a little too much. Do I want my entire night, or do I want 40% of my portfolio to be, reliant on some 6% owned garbage player? And maybe not. So I reduce and I see, okay, can I build lineups that at least rotate through to another garbage player that I need, right? And then you start looking at lineups, you go, okay, I get this lineup, I get this lineup, I get this lineup, and then you're done. But these are just tools. Like, all it is it doesn't tell you what to do. You tell it what to do. I'm just going to press a button and build 150 lines. Yeah, you could do that. If you're playing cash games, yeah, sure. You can play any of the top couple of, 10, 20, 30 lineups because they're the highest projected lineups, right? For those projections, you want to put in different projections, it's going to tell you something completely different, right? So you start changing the projections and there'll be different lineups, right? You say, oh, I don't think this guy's going to play that much. I'm going to use some, you don't like our projection, you can use some other site's projection. You can do that also. Maybe you don't like our tool. Maybe you don't want to use lineup HQ, use some other tool, another optimizer, but you like our projections. Well, okay, then you can just export, right, here you go, export the projections from RG and put them into your tool. That's all that is. Right? People always say the word optimizer as if like, oh, it's the optimizer that's doing the work. No, it's not. All it's doing is it's solving a knapsack problem. That's all it is. That's all it is. A knapsack constraint problem, right? Because you're putting in the constraints. That's all it's doing. It doesn't think some guy is a good play. That has no brain whatsoever. You see this middle column with fantasy points? That's all it's doing. How do I get as many of those from this column? If you change those numbers in those columns, right? Like, oh, I don't want to play. It's telling me to play Harden. Well, it's like, well, put Harden's projection at 30 points. Well, I ain't going to tell you to play Harden anymore. I mean, so are you talking about the optimizer? Or are you talking about the projections? They're two different things, right? So people go around. Oh, I use this tool, use that tool, use this tool, and well, what projections are you using? If you're using the same projections, the tools don't really matter that much. Unless there's specific little feature things that help you make the lineups that you like to make, right? Conditional boosts. There's some nuanced things that people like to do to get the optimizer to build the lineups that they would have built by hand anyway. Some people don't need those, some of those little things. Some people don't use them, right? They go into the build rules, they go into some stuff, and it's like this whole thing, utility exposure. Like most of the time, I don't even have to use any of these. Most of the time, I don't care. Sometimes I do. I want to build two high center, two Embiid Jokic lineups only. Well, if we wanted to do that, I want to have at least two of Embiid, Jokic, and Looney. Okay, they're all center only eligible, right? Jokic, Embiid, and Looney. Well, once I have to add them back. Right, because I got rid of the Warriors, right? Toscano Anderson, right? If you want to play, yeah, here's Looney. You could go in and you could set a group like that, or you could just say build rules, and you just say I want 100% exposure to center in the utility, and you're most likely, and I'm going to remove all the other centers, right? I remove all the other centers from my pool. I just have Jokic, Embiid, and Looney. Well, you're going to get lineups that have two or three of them. I didn't have to make a group because that would do it. Or I could not use that, and I could make a group. Like you could do. I don't want lineups that have 3 60+% owned guys. Well, you could set a max for your total lineup ownership. You could set a group a custom rule for that. You could, there's depending on thinking of what is the lineup I want to build. What do I have to do? What do I have to program in order to get that line? That's the way to think about it rather than, I don't know what lineups I want to build. What settings should I use to have it spit out lineups that are good? That's the wrong way to, that's how most people think about it. And that's why they use tools and they go, I don't know why I'm losing money all the time. Then I take a look at sometimes at some of their lineups and I go, yeah, I can see how you're losing money. You're building horrible lineups. Yeah, but I put in this and I put in that and I had 50% of this guy and I had 10% of that guy and I had 3 unique players. I said, so did you look at the actual lineups you were building? It's like, yeah, some of these lineups are decent and some of these lineups are like 37 points projected lower for the contest that you, I mean, like they're 37 points lower and they're too high owned or something. And then you have some lineups that it's like, why did you build 10 cash lineups for large field GPPs? Like none of the players look bad. None of these lineups look like, oh, like they have bad plays in it. It's just that how do you expect to beat 30,000 people by playing essentially a double up lineup? Right? You have too many of those types of lineups. And then you have lineups at the bottom where it's like, oh, you're playing, yes, you're playing none of the chalk. Congratulations. Right? You're playing 3% owned guys and your projection is 50 points below everyone. How do you expect to win with that lineup? That lineup sucks. But if you looked at your exposures, you'd be like, well, I'm playing 70% of this guy and 20% of that guy. And then, but the lineups, you have 100 lineups and none of them are good. all the percentages work out, right? I'm twice the field on this guy. Yeah, but all those lineups suck. So who cares? What does it matter? But no one ever takes me up. People want to. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to understand the concepts. They don't want to do anything. What settings do you plug in? There's no such thing as set. There's no magic settings. There's no nothing. Learn the concepts of the games and then build lineups. And then if you want to scale that, then you use a tool like this. You go, oh, okay, I want to be able to build 20 lineups in 4 minutes. 20 lineups that I would want to play in 4 minutes. Well, you have to learn what lineups do you want first. That's what you need to learn first. And you're going to learn that type of stuff with the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass. I'll teach you. It's like a seminar. All the concepts I was talking about today, that's in the course, right? What separates expert DFS players from average ones? Right? Average DFS players focus on selecting the best individual plays to build a lineup. Expert DFS players select plays based on the context of the full lineup and the contest it's entered in. Yeah. So here's the table of contents. Here's everything. I'll talk you through it, right? Theoryofdfs.com. Go pick it up. It's crunch time later today for the 2-game NBA slate. Remember, I will not be on tomorrow. Don't show up here. There won't be a thumbnail. There won't be you won't even be able to get it. So that's why it's not here. So I'm not doing a show. I got a dentist appointment. And if you join the premium subscription for RotoGrinders, rotogrinders.com/premium, click on the link in the description, get $10 off your first month. I'll be doing a coaching call tonight in my branded channel, Blenders Game Theory. It's in our Discord. I do a Zoom call, private coaching with people. And we're doing that tonight, right? Tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern time, right? I like doing it on slates where it's like, well, there's not much work. There's not much work I'm doing, right? It's a 2-game slate. How much work is there? So we could do it in the middle. So 8 o'clock tonight, if you're part of RotoGrinders Premium, if you're a premium subscriber, you're part of the Discord, you'll see a Zoom link posted there. And yeah. And I will not be here tomorrow, but I will be back Monday, as usual, answering most of your DFS strategy questions on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.